Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. We will go right into the text without delay.
There is no one who does not feel that he is imprisoned in some way. If this is the result of his own free will, he must regard his will as not free. Or,
The circular?
or the circular reasoning in this position would be quite apparent. Free will must lead to freedom. Judgment always imprisons because it separates segments of reality by the unstable scales of desire. Wishes are not facts. To wish is to imply that willing is not sufficient. Yet no one in his right mind believes that willing, that what is wished is as real as what is willed. Instead of seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, say, will ye first the kingdom of heaven? And you have said, I know what I am, and I accept my own inheritance.
A strong series of statements. To see the truth of them, each one of you must dare to be honest with yourselves. Else you will be inclined to say, oh, I don't feel imprisoned. The limits you are all experiencing are the result of free will being expressed. The free will to give your own definitions to everything without getting their meaning from that which created them in the first place, in order for you to have something to make up a definition about. You know what you're doing when you turn within and you say, I'm willing to consider the possibility that the way I'm seeing everything is flawed. That what I think things are may not be what they are. And you ask to have an experience of the real meaning of each thing that goes beyond your current experience of it. What you're doing is you're saying, Father, I want your vision. I want the will that you are expressing right where this thing is to be established in me as my conscious experience. And override and eliminate my current definitions, my current perceptions. And at the bottom line, what you're saying is, Father, I'm asking for the will you are expressing to render null and void and non-existent any personal will I thought I had. Now, the only problem is that you associate your existence and your identity with your will. And so, if you ask for your will to be replaced by the Father's will, you think that you are asking for your very identity to be obliterated. And you must understand that that is not true. That is not what the result of your request will be. The result of your request will be that you will no longer experience being imprisoned, because you will have abandoned, you will have let your personal private sense of will be deleted, if you will, from your experience. And that is the very thing which has caused you to experience limitations or imprisonment. As long as you are exercising willfulness by determining what a thing is to be in your own mind, you are depriving yourself of being inseparable from, at one with, the movement of capital B being, which is the Father willing, creating anew, being all that is new. You will not be swallowed up in anything. Rather, you will find yourself, as it were, standing where the fountain pours forth into expression, and you will experience yourself being the place where it pours forth through, which is what the Father experiences. Thy will be done. Is a request for you to no longer be subject to distorted perceptions of reality or the movement of creation itself. And so ultimately it doesn't constitute a loss of identity at all. It constitutes a coming back into what your true, real identity is. Instead of seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, say, will ye first the kingdom of heaven. And who are you saying it to? Yourself? No. What that means is you're returning authority to the only place where authorship is. You're saying, Father, I'm abandoning my so-called position of authority and all of my attempts to create the meaning of everything, and I yield to what you will. Will ye first the kingdom of heaven, and I'll stop willing the world and universe. The distorted perception of the kingdom of heaven. And when you say that, you have said, in effect, now I know what I am. I am all you are being, right here where I am, Father. And I return the authority to you so that I might let this mask of personhood that I've been creating and maintaining slip from me so that I might see you right here where I am. And in returning authorship to the only author there is, I realize that I am putting myself in a position of accepting my inheritance. You see, you exist only for the purpose of standing in receipt of your inheritance. You don't have a private, personal purpose of creating an inheritance for your offspring, or for creating your own good or your own wealth. Your function is to forever stand in receipt of your inheritance, which comes from the Father. And when you accept that inheritance, when you stand in receipt because you've abandoned any sense of personal, private authorship of your own, it isn't that you still stand separate in receipt of all that is. What happens is there is a shift of conscious experience in which you find yourself at one with and inseparable from the emergence of all that is. And your inheritance isn't something you stand in receipt of. It is what constitutes you in your totality. It is an experience, a new experience of identity, far superior than the identity you thought you created for yourself by being an independent author, willing things to be what you said they were, rather than what God was being. This is very important. There is no one who does not feel that he is imprisoned in some way. That's nothing to feel bad about. It simply means there's a whole lot you don't know yet. It means there's a whole lot available to you. And so rather than making you feel bad, it should inspire you to be inquisitive. But to be inquisitive of God. Before we go on to the next section, I will ask if there is anyone who has a question.
If I remember correctly, Raj, this is the first time we've come up against the word wish. And so could you give us the difference between wishing and willing? Willing seems like a passive thing, and wishing is a more active thing. Is that a more active thing of the mind?
Wishing is to want to have something you don't have. Wishing is brought into play for the purpose of having things be different than they unalterably are. Wishing is an expression of dissatisfaction. In your sense of separation, you wish for everything to not be what God is being it as, and I'm aware that's not good English, because you want the right to define it yourself. And then you bring willfulness into play. You bring will into play to force yourself to believe the definition and to get everyone else to believe the definition with you, so that group consensus confirms it and seems to make it more real. When it says to wish is to imply that willing is not sufficient, does not mean the same thing as to wish is to imply that will is not sufficient. To wish is to imply that willingness to yield to the authorship of God is not sufficient. I wish it to be more or different. And I will for it to be different.
So whenever we're not surrendering to the will of God, we're wishing.
You
for
sure
something
are.
different.
You sure are.
Okay.
And you're also wishing for the hit of the experience of authority, which isn't available to you on your own.
So most people, when they talk about manifesting, the ability to be able to manifest, they're talking about having their wishes fulfilled.
That is true. And then they use their spiritual or metaphysical thought processes to supposedly will that thing into manifestation.
Like the power of positive thinking, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Prayer is not a wish, and it's not a will. It's not an expression of will. Prayer is, Father, thy will be done, not mine. You cannot comprehend the fullness of fulfillment that you will experience when you abandon this so-called authority you think you have to manifest success. And let in the fullness of what the Father is being as you. But I ask all of you to be curious to have the experience. Okay, let's continue.
Thank you.
Section 7, Creating versus the Self-Image. Every system of thought must have a starting point. It begins with either a making or a creating, a difference we have already discussed. Their resemblance lies in their power as foundations. Their difference lies in what rests upon them. Both are cornerstones for systems of belief by which one lives. It is a mistake to believe that a thought system based on lies is weak. Nothing made by a child of God is without power. It is essential to realize this, because otherwise you will be unable to escape from the prison you have made.
And as I brought out before, you can't stop being the sons or daughters of God. Therefore, you are using the substantiality, the divine substantiality of what you are, to create for yourselves misperceptions. You haven't lost your divine status and become something different called a mortal, a human being who has been born into a material universe for the purpose of refining your soul until you get smart enough not to do it again. You are the absolute and only divine one that you will ever be, behaving as though you aren't that divine being, and believing your behavior. It's because this is the fact that you can escape from your imprisonment. And you can escape from it as quickly as you change your mind. It's not any more complicated than that. Continue.
You cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your mind. To do so is to deceive yourself, and this will hurt you because you really understand the strength of the mind. You also realize that you cannot weaken it any more than you can weaken God. The devil is a frightening concept because he seems to be extremely powerful and extremely active. He is perceived...
And that's the key word. He is perceived. Continue.
He is perceived as a force in combat with God, battling him for possession of his creations. The devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms in which everything is in direct opposition to God. Yet he attracts men rather than repels them, and they are willing to sell him their souls in return for gifts of no real worth. This makes absolutely no sense.
Now, I want to point out that this devil, that, of course, is out there. It's something separate from you, different from you, but it's out to get you, is simply a projection of what all of you are already engaged in. You are the devil, if you will. You are the Christ behaving as though you're not the Christ and believing your behavior, and everything you are engaged in is in opposition to reality because you're enjoying the hit of defining everything yourself. So that's all there is to the devil. It isn't a powerful force, it's just a misuse of your mind. It seems to entice you, and it seems to cause you to be willing to abandon God, abandon your soul, abandon your self in favor of the concept of yourself that you've created and the imagined satisfaction of developing this self's authority through willfulness to the point where it has power of its own. And yet this is all just an unrealistic imagining in your mind. Continue.
We have discussed the fall or separation before, but its meaning must be clearly understood. The separation is a system of thought real enough in time, though not in eternity.
Let me interrupt you. The separation is a system of thought. That's all. It's a system of thought. It's a way of thinking about things. It's not an event. It's not even a result. The separation occurred and now you're separate from God. Hopefully with some sort of gold tether, but separate from God. No. All there is to the separation is the way of thinking that you have adopted in order to perceive things the way you want to perceive them. Continue.
All beliefs are real to the believer. The fruit of only one tree was forbidden in the symbolic garden, but God could not have forbidden it, or it could not have been eaten. If God knows his children, and I assure you that he does, would he have put them in a position where their own destruction was possible? The forbidden tree was named the tree of knowledge, yet God created knowledge and gave it freely to his creations. The symbolism here has been given many interpretations, but you may be sure that any interpretation that sees either God or his creations as capable of destroying their own purpose is in error.
That is very clear. Continue.
Eating of the fruit of the tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression or usurping the ability for self-creating.
Okay. Eating of the fruit of the tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression for usurping the ability for self-creating, meaning that you have attempted to take on the capacity to be self-creative, yourself. You've stolen authorship from God, in effect. Continue.
This is the only sense in which God and his creations are not co-creators.